if you're already in binary, transy, genderquery communities, I feel like most often where this comes up is this phrase like, oh, I don't know if I'm trans enough. And in my work, I'm in first half, so tea is like going up and my throat is like, my apologies. Yay, joys of HRT. This is a ride, y'all. And in my work, I often hear people say something to the effect of, I don't know if I will be masculine enough, or I don't know if I will be feminine enough. I don't know if I will be male enough. I don't know if I will be female enough. And I do find that people understand that, like, they get to decide what those things are. But I feel like so often people forget that they don't have to give away their sovereignty and allow someone else to decide how enough of something you are. And often what I do, and that's what I thought maybe I'd share here today, is like, okay, how do you approach that question? Like, oh, what if I'm not going to be male enough? Because let's say I don't want to, or I'm not going to, or I can't take my breasts off. And I think about the amazing women in my life who maybe didn't use words to tell me, but really showed me that they were being their own woman, their own version of woman. I'm thinking of my Aunt Chris, who is not your typical beauty, and I just thought she was the most gorgeous woman in the world. And I always thought she was a lesbian. Apparently she's not. That was baffling to me. Anyway, a different story for a different day. But she really showcased for me that she was being a woman in her own damn way. Like, she didn't shave her legs, and that in combination with like vintage wear that she loved to sew herself, does still. She's still alive and doing that. But just she really showcased for me like, oh, this is a different kind of woman, a different kind of femininity. And then I think about the dykes and the lesbians that I met at a very young age when I was volunteering for the National Organization for Women in Boston. And I was presenting primarily as a boy. I had my head shaved, and people on the street, before they could see that I had breasts, because I wasn't able to bind double D's, not comfortably in a way that I could fucking breathe. But really were, at the time, they were kind of like, whoa. And I'm thankful that they held me as gently as they did, because I think I was probably a little challenging for them. Anyway, bless those people. But those dykes really showed me something different, that they were doing female different. They were women. They were dykes, and they were women, and they weren't non-binary. That wasn't a word we were using. Butch was a word we were using. Yeah, they showed me something different, and I didn't know up till that. I just had come from such a conservative place, and they started to give me some verbiage to understand. So, and I think a lot of people who, similarly to me, have walked through the world as women in feminized bodies, fill in the blank, whatever phrase you want to use for you. I like the word woman. I've walked through the world as a woman for 35 plus years. If you're lucky, I think if you're lucky, you get to learn that what is quote unquote female, what is quote unquote feminine, what is quote unquote a woman, is whatever you fucking decide for yourself. Because airbrushing and all of the fucking body politics that we're supposed to live up to is just such bullshit. And if you want to do it because you want to do it for you, that is fucking awesome. You do that shit and you fucking own it. But if you want to do it because you're told that you should do it, fuck off. Absolutely not. Not the reason. So I am grateful that I lived long enough in my female body to learn those lessons for myself and put them into practice and really be like, oh, I'm a woman. I don't want to shave. I was told I had to shave, and I don't want to. I don't enjoy it. I tend to use it for self-harm. What if I just removed that possibility for myself? That was actually such a great thing for me. Um, so later in my life, I decided like, oh, why the fuck do I have to wear a bra? I come home, first thing you do, you come through the door, you unsnap your bra, and you're like, ugh. I was like, why am I doing this? This sucks. That was a different. It's such a process to learn to walk through the world like that. And it has consequences. And I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm just saying that I got to choose for my body what being a woman was. Um, and I've often heard when I've been in mixed trans spaces where there's trans masculine, trans feminine, AFAB, AMAB, non-binary, genderqueer, agendered, when we're all together. So, hi. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm glad it feels relatable. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, feel free to jump in here. Tell me more. Like when I'm in those shared spaces, one of the most beautiful things to me is when I see let's say a trans feminine person who is new to this, young or old age. The age has not played a difference, let me tell you. It hasn't mattered. But new to the femininity being present in the world. And they really want to like hit these marks. Like, I need to do this and I need to do that. And I need to be this feminine enough to be a woman. This is what I've decided for me will, cross that threshold. And I watched the seasoned women in the room go, yes, yes. And then I hear them at some point say something to the effect of, and eventually you're going to learn that you are the woman that you are, and you are going to settle into what that is for you. And I understand that right now you really want it to be this thing. And that always takes me back to teachings of Buddhism and attachment. And Buddhism, the source of all suffering is attachment. And we become attached to what we think we're supposed to be or what we want to be genuinely. Whatever it is attachment. And we get to decide, and I'm not saying it's easy because it's fucking work, but we get to decide what we're attached to, actually, and that is a challenging process. And I think you need community and support, and you need love, and you need a lot of self-awareness to be able to sit with that and do that differently. And I hope more of us do, no matter what fucking body you're in. And I think the same goes for men. And I think gay men really have this clocked in a way that cis straight men, I think, do get. And it's also not the same because, again, sexism is rampant everywhere and it hurts everybody. But it is so real. The pressure of what you're supposed to be. Yeah, in a million ways. What you're supposed to be at school, what you're supposed to be, this, that, and the other. But so for our gender, like, I like to ask, especially when I have AFABs. This one's it's especially easy, I find, with AFABs, because so often my clients have political queer lens or often a women's studies major. That's common. For me to just pull out and be like, okay, let's think about that. Like, are you trying to you're telling me you don't think you'll be man enough? Are you trying to tell me that when you look at a woman walking down the street in, a non-classically feminine magazined way, that you get to decide that she's not a woman? Are you telling me that I get to decide that dyke isn't a woman because she's got a shaved head? What are you doing right now? Put the master's tools down. Stop. And we get to, most of the time, we get to have a good laugh about it. We're like, oh shit, what did I do there? And again, easier said than done, right? But if we can remember this piece when we're judging ourselves, because of other people's judgment, not because of our judgment. It's not yours. Put it down. I mean, you can choose to pick it up. I'm not trying to judge you for that. Feel free to judge away. You know, you get to do that. But I hope you don't. Please don't judge yourself like that. Ooh, ew, ah. Oh, it's so sad to me. And we all do it, and I do it, and, you know, I'm willing to bet you do it. So, yeah, so I'm not this or that enough. One thing that, and this is, and I've talked before about identitarian politics and just how absolutely supportive identities can be and how absolutely damning they can be, both, right? Everything has shadow and light, and identitarian politics have its purpose in politics, and I don't think it has a whole lot of purpose in our personal experience of self without relation to other. The minute somebody else comes in, we have politics. And now it makes sense to use identity for different ways. But if we are just on our lonesome, no. And how do you bridge that gap? And this is the work that I love doing with clients, is like, okay, you understand that when you look in the mirror, somebody else doesn't get to decide if you're a man or a woman or non-binary or agendered. Like, they don't get to decide that for you. You get to decide that. Now, when you go out in the world, you have an experience of people judging you for these things. I know, I see it every day. Let me tell you, the difference in me walking down the street with dangly earrings versus not dangly earrings, night and day. Come walk by my side, hold my hand, and watch the expressions on people's face and just the difference. We can turn a corner, I will take my earrings off, and the vibe will change. It's amazing and pitiful. Oh, well, that's where we're at. So I'm not changing the world, and I'm certainly not expecting the world to change for me, but I am making the dents I can where I can. And I'm fucking refusing to take my earrings off that I love so much for other people. And obviously, sometimes there are moments that are safer than others, and we need to make those choices and be discerning. Yes, I have all my caveats. I will hand them to you. Sure, take them. And also, at what point do you decide, I have enough safety? I'm talking to you, people who have more privilege in this world that is dominated by some over others. I have enough privilege and access, and it's safe enough for me to do the embodied political work of showing up differently and showing the world that somebody else exists who is different, and that deserves respect. Because let me tell you, our Black trans sisters are having a much fucking harder time than we are in white bodies, especially AFABs. So you have so much more access more often than not. I am using very broad brushstrokes here. Be gentle here. Very, very broad brushstrokes. Wildly broad. But you have so much more access more often than not, most of the time, to be able to do this political work. So please the fuck show up. That's what you can do every fucking day to help everyone who is really facing a lot of crossroads of intersectional power differentials. Is you can show up differently in the ways that you want in your body and fucking learn to own that. And there are resources to do that, and we've got to find those, and that takes resources and energy and time and community and all of these pieces. Yes, I know, my darlings. It takes so much, it does. And you are more resourced than those who are not. So what do you need to do to show up? Because I will write you that permission slip. I really will. One of the things that I like to do with clients is sit down and talk about, like, okay, what are you scared about? Like, really, actually, let's name it and let's make a game plan, you know? Like, I get freaked out going into women's restrooms. I hate going into men's restrooms. I don't want to be a man. I'm not a fucking man. The world sees me as a man, so I need to go into men's restrooms. Sometimes because that's what's fucking safer and or just more convenient. An airport. Totally safe for me to go into the women's restroom. Comfortable? But the problem, I might lose my fucking flight. I might be late for my flight if I'm running to the bathroom and now I have to fucking deal with security. So is that a safety issue? No, it's a convenience issue. And also then that can become a safety issue. Anyway, it's all wrapped into each other. So what do you need to be able to show up? What resources are going to support you to do this political work? And I am talking to the people who have the most access to privilege, because don't tell me that you want to center those people most in need and then collapse on yourself because you're scared that you're going to get nasty looks walking down the street. What do you think almost every trans woman has to deal with? Most people think I'm a trans woman. Let me tell you, it is not convenient. And I'm 5'6" and small. Like, I am not getting what a lot of my sisters are getting. Like, whew. And the little bit I'm getting is a no thank you. Holy fuck balls. Like, put that in your body. You're like, ooh, oh girl, I am so fucking sorry. Like, it's a different experience. I do recommend, if you get the chance, if you're AFAB, to walk through the world as a trans woman. I do recommend. It will put it in your nervous system in a way that most things won't. You know, lived experiences makes a difference. So, what else do I want to say? What have y'all got? What comes up when you're like, oh, am I trans enough? Oh, am I man enough? Like, I'm not trying to go into like literally like how do you fucking deal with each thing. Like, there's family stuff, and there's walking down the street stuff, and there's like having to deal with, you know, passport stuff. Like, there's all of these. I'm not trying to go into all of that, but I'm talking about like when you're with yourself and you're like, you're telling yourself, I don't think I'm, or I couldn't be, or I am not blank enough. That's what I want to change first, because the rest is going to get a lot easier if we can just start with that first. Like, how do you know in your bones? How do you burn it into your marrow and know that you are fucking enough because you are, period. Like, hard stop, period, because you are. So it's interesting to me that so many people understand that gender is a construct and then turn around and say, I'm not gender enough. It leaves me speechless, actually, literally, which not a lot of things do, but I'm just like, what? How did you make that jump and not bring it along with you? So think about that one. Feel free to ask me some questions, because I love digging into it. But like, whew. So I understand gender is a construct. These are made up categories that we've decided, and those made up categories have consequences when you violate them. That is real. That is true. But gender itself, we're just deciding what that is. And that changes over time. Look at history and look at time. It changes over time. And so we're arguing about it as if it doesn't. Like, what is that essentialism? No, thank you. I'm filled with rage about it all the time, y'all. Yeah. So how can we notice when we're inviting essentialism into our own narratives of self? Our narrative with ourself. So, again, easier said than done. I know that. And I really think that this is key number one. And, you know, we could boil it down to key number one, love yourself. Well, yeah, actually, that is what I'm advocating here. Like, so what do you need to trust and love yourself and know yourself as you are, outside of these labels? And how do you not should yourself? How do you do that in your, I like the whole transferable skills. So like, what are other areas in your life where you've already done that work? Like, oh, I'm not a doctor enough. I'm not, I don't have a higher education enough. I don't XYZ enough. Like, what tools have you already learned that have helped you to like move past those hurdles? And then can we use those tools and transfer them over to this work we're doing around understanding that to say I'm not gender enough for myself is just using the master's tools. And that's not going to get me where I want to go, which for me is gender liberation and breaking down sexism. You know, if you're only concerned, if your primary concern is, I want the world, I want other people, I want to control what other people think of me and how they see me, well, I'm not the practitioner for you, first of all. So I have people I can refer you to. And second of all, like, check your sovereignty. Check your sovereignty. Who are you allowing to decide? Because let me tell you, if I allowed the older white Quebecois women walking down the street to decide, oh, I'm neither male nor female, and certainly I'm not allowed to be anything else, so fail. I'm not letting someone else decide. Please don't do that either. I do love telling clients, like, okay, you need someone else to decide. That gives you permission. I will write you that permission slip any day of the week. You just let me know. This person is trans enough. Move on with your life. So, but the thing is like, if it's not me, then later it's going to be someone else. It's practices of standing in your sovereignty and knowing that you get to decide for you. And this is something that I feel like I'm so grateful to all the seniors in my life who have really helped me look at that and remember, like, oh, actually, I get to decide. So, I was with a dear friend today who's has terminal cancer, and I was we were talking about gender, and he was saying, like, you know, I didn't get the chance to be all that I knew myself to be in my gender fluidity over the years. Like, it wasn't safe. I couldn't do it. And, you know, that's his experience. I'm not going to question it. And also, and he was expressing sadness for this loss. And at the same time was saying, I'm so grateful that I made so much of what I did have access to. I really enjoyed what I could of the things. And so he was holding both of these things. Like, he had grief, you know, that he didn't get to explore his gender as much as he had wanted to throughout his life. And also he had gratitude and appreciation for the work that he did do from where he was. And I want more of us to have the ability to hold multiple truths like that. But first and foremost, decide for yourself. So it's fucking hard when, you know, you may know for yourself, like, yeah, I'm fucking trans enough, and you go to the doctor and they're like, you're not fucking trans. That's hard. I'm not saying it's not. And also, your doctor doesn't get to decide, but your doctor does get to hold the fucking keys to whether you get access to treatment if that's something you choose or want to have. And that's fucked. And also, it's the system we've got, which would be fine if that system weren't built and based on sexism. And power over and control on multiple levels and ways and forms. So here we are. So I like to ask, like, is your only goal your own gender, or is part of your goal to change the landscape of power structures of gender that control us? And that's a major difference. So how can you center the values of both of those at the same time? And if you're in pain and hurting because um, what you're seeking for yourself isn't available at a given moment, how can you redirect that into understanding that the ways that you do show up that push against any of these norms is helping the collective effort? You're putting your drop in the sea. And that's actually important because the ocean would not exist without droplets of water. So this is how we create a tide. So, one drop at a time. That is my TED Talk. Thank you. I had like 3 days in a row where I had this conversation with people, and I was like, oh, I hear this a lot. And one of the primary things I would wish is that we would not give away our sovereignty and allow other people to decide anything about our bodies. When I was 30, I wanted my tubes tied because I knew I didn't want to carry children. And I went to 3 different doctors who all told me I was too young. So they were deciding for my body. Thankfully, the state of California had ruled that they don't actually get to decide for my body. So I was able to send a legal letter to Member Services and got scheduled to get my tubal ligation. But that should have never happened, right? Like I should have had access to do what I wanted to my body. So that is a different question than, let's say, because that was in California, say in Canada, where the government is paying for medicalization, right? There's a danger zone there. So, yeah, that ends up being a different thing oftentimes. So, there is the we need access, but then that is how can we hold that separately from the, and also gender is just constructs and I get to decide that I am my own kind of female, because rural cis heterosexual women have been doing that forever, you know. Dykes have been doing that forever. Trans women have been doing that forever. We've all been doing it forever. Gay men get to do it from their own place of, you know, being male differently. I was thinking about, so I had my eyebrows done recently, and it was so funny. I went in and the woman was like, okay, so are we going for like wild and unruly and masculine? And I felt my whole body like shrink, and I was like, no, I don't, what? Like, I was so confused by it, and I was like, why would you think this about me? Like, why was that the assumption? And I was so shocked because a trans person had sent me to her, so I was kind of like, what is happening? Like, if she'd just been a random straight cis woman, I would have been like, oh yeah, this is happening. But I just wasn't expecting it as like the first like entrance, and she was like right on me, and I was just like, whoa. It was fine, you know, like, but and then she could tell I was just kind of like confused, and she was like, okay, wait, so like, you know, who's like, can you think of a celebrity, you know, whose eyebrows you like? And I don't know celebrities, like, I don't really watch anything. And I was like, oh. But then I realized, like, oh, I was in Cuba for several weeks last year, and it's not so cool to be gay there, let me tell you, as somebody who was assumed gay there. But what I figured out really quick was in Havana, the men who had manicured eyebrows, they were the gay men. And that was how they were signaling to each other. And and so that's what I pulled out. I was like, oh, actually, like really manicured masculine eyebrows, like I saw in Cuba, like that actually, I do enjoy that. Like, I would like to try that out. Like, it's just hair, it'll grow back, like whatever. So I'd like to try that out. And she was like, oh, okay, great, you know, and redirected with me really fast. And I was really happy with the whole thing. And it was a lovely experience. And come to find out, she's just done all of these trainings for medical tattooing, and specifically wants to work with folks who have self-harm scars. and trans bodies. So that's really important and awesome because we don't have that here in Montreal as far as I know of right now. And I have plans for my nipples that I'd like to do. So I was just like, oh, excellent. So if you want that contact information, let me know. Okay, I think that's enough for now. Just to say, please decide for yourself. If you want a permission slip, come see me, call me. I will write you one. I'll send it over. Very happy to do that for you. And also, you don't need anyone's motherfucking permission to be any gender. These things are made up in your body with yourself. And you shouldn't in bed either. If there's somebody in your bed who's deciding for you, ooh, please don't do that. You decide for you. All of it easier said than done, I know. And also, officials and governments get to decide what our genders are. So do parents, so do doctors, so that is a separate thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the relationality of being in this world. I'm talking about you in your body, understanding and knowing your sense of self. That's all I'm referring to here. So how do you decide for yourself that you are woman enough or man enough? I think of like, that would be a good t-shirt. That's funny. Yeah, I have plans for my nipples. Excellent. I have, oh no, that got me excited. And then I went, wee, rabbit hole. Okay, squirrel. I don't know where I was. Anyway, I'm going to let y'all go. I love you. Bye.